Okay, Doc, let's look at the AR numbers. The first number you see up at the top right of the screen is the amount the practice has collected so far this month. So that's the total amount collected. And that's in real time, updated twice daily. The second number you see is the total amount outstanding. That's everything that's been billed and not collected yet. I'm going to skip over these three numbers for right now. We'll get back to those. I want to continue on to this number. This is of the total outstanding amount, the amount that is older than 30 days. So it was billed and hasn't been collected yet, and the data service was over the 30 days ago. The second number is claims that is older than 60 days, and the third number is older than 120 days. And these numbers here are really a quick way for you to analyze or compare what your billing performance is. So it's the same numbers, your accounts receivable older than 30 days. So this number as a percentage of the total amount outstanding is 99%. The second number is total outstanding over 60 days, and the third number is the AR, accounts receivable, older than 120 days. Now this accounts receivable older than 120 days, the national average across all specialties is 17.8%. That number is used as a billing industry standard across all billing, thousands of billing companies across the country. That's the number that is used to compare billing service performance from one provider to the next. And why is that? Because we know if it takes you more than 120 days to collect on a claim that you produced, the odds of you collecting it are almost zero. And that's independent of personal injuries and specific types of claims that take longer than that. Now, for Genesis clients across hundreds of practices, the highest that number gets right now is 9%. And we have practices as low as 2%. So that means that those practices compared to the national average, so the national average is 17.8%. If a practice, let's say, collects is at 2%, it's the difference between 17.7 and 2%, so over 15% more revenue for that practice. Let's go over the other numbers that we skipped over before, and these are the billing workflow numbers. Now these numbers are created by the system. In the system, Genesis has an artificial intelligence that finds claims that need immediate attention by the billers or your follow-up team, as opposed to other systems which rely on your staff to find claims that need follow-up in aging reports. So the system, again, in the cloud has thousands of rules that are built into it, and that the system, we add to that over time as insurance companies change their tactics. But the first number we're going to look at is the owed active tickets. So the active owed, this is the number of claims the system pre-scrubbed and flagged before the claims actually went out to the insurance company. So there's some type of attention that the practice needs to make before they actually even submit it. So for example, if you were to submit a claim and the date of birth was missing on the account level, or there was transposed numbers or the address or other missing information, as well as some rules that we have built in, such as certain diagnosis codes that might need specific linking or modifiers. If anything was submitted that we know will get denied eventually, we flag that up front and we kick it right back to the practice so they can correct that and resubmit it right from the practice. The second number that we're looking at is the number of active failed. This is the number of claims that have gone to the insurance companies and now need immediate attention today. So for example, a claim that went to the insurance company and came back through an electronic EOB, so the EOBs come back electronically and post into the system, and then the system looks at those claims and it says if the claim is underpaid, maybe one of the codes on the claim is underpaid, maybe another code on the claim is denied. Sometimes the insurance company denies it because they want documentation, or the claim needs appeal, or sometimes the insurance company has 30 days to pay and they haven't paid yet. The system flags those claims, and those are claims that actively need to be followed up on by the follow-up team. Now this third number is very similar to the second number. You'll see it's just a little bit bigger. The total failed. This simply shows the total number of claims that need follow-up. That includes the number, or this number, the active failed, as well as claims that will need more attention at some point in the future. So for example, if the biller follows up with the insurance company and the insurance company says, I need documentation, and the biller sends the documentation and needs to follow up again with the insurance company a week or so later on, they'll change the claim date, follow-up date, to a week later, and that wouldn't show up on their billing follow-up workbench for today. It's going to come back in a week from now, so it shows as a total number. We call that the backlog, the total number of claims that will need follow-up either today or at some point in the future. Okay, the next thing I want you to look at is what's called the provider claims workbench. We call it a workbench because it's simply one place you can go, like a workbench in your shop. One place you can go and it tells you all the work that you need to do. So, for example, we talked about those claims that would automatically get kicked back to the practice because they're missing some information before they ever go to the insurance company. It'll show you all those claims right now, so the practice will get these. They can click on any claim in here and see a full audit trail of every action ever taken on this claim or the account associated with this claim, including notes that have been made by the billers if they were following up on claims and needed the practice's input. An example here would be if a charge amount is missing, if the service facility zip code was missing, the claim is not going to go to the insurance company without that information because it's simply going to get denied. Also down here you can see again a full audit trail of every person, the username, and what they did on the account or this actual claim. And from here you can simply go into right from the claim, go into the account, update the information, and then when it's saved, it gives the practice the option to pick what claim and update and resubmit it right from the workbench. So remember I told you we have some practices whose AR over 120 is as low as 2%. The practices that get their 2% AR over 120 clear this workbench every single day. They make it a practice to make sure that they do everything they can do possible to make the insurance companies pay as quickly as possible. Just to review now, what we just saw is that the system has artificial intelligence that learns over time what claims need follow-up and what claims need attention by the practice. Those two numbers, the active failed claims, those are the follow-up team needs to follow up on them, and the provider claims workbench, the claims that the practice needs to address themselves. So the key to this whole thing is rather than wasting time of the biller having to go to aging reports and find claims, and rather than wasting time for your practice to know every single little thing that has to happen to make sure a claim goes out cleanly, the system knows that for you, and the system finds claims in aging reports for the billers and kicks claims back to your office that need attention immediately. So there's you and the billing team never have to go to aging reports to find work to do. You can always go to aging reports just to do analysis. So the two keys are the provider claims workbench. The provider claims workbench is the practice level, what the practice has to do to make sure the claims get paid. And the active failed is what the billers are following up on. It looks very similar to the provider claim workbench. One other just something to add to that is that the claims that the billers are working on, if they need information from the practice to continue to follow up, they'll send it to the provider claims workbench. So with traditional billing, you have to have emails and faxes and phone calls. No more of that. The billers are able to directly communicate exactly what they need through the workbench mechanism. The additional benefit for the owner of the practice is you know exactly how much work has to be done by both the follow-up team and your practice to make sure you get paid every single penny that you deserve, and you can see those numbers in real time. And in reality, those numbers should be zero by the end of every single day.